Tara LaRosa, who is arguably the best female mixed martial arts fighter in the world. Record of 17-1. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
So why don't we see you on any of these big cards?
I don't know. I guess we're going to have to ask some of those people out there. I guess my management's in talks right now with Strikeforce and Bellator, of course. So I guess we're just kind of waiting on that. But, you know, for the meantime, I've been trying to keep busy on the smaller shows, you know.
What's next for you?
Well, right now I'm keeping busy on Monty Cox's show, Extreme Challenge, down in Atlantic City. He's now brought that show, which has been around for years and years, over to the East Coast. So I've been doing, like, you know, keeping busy.
You know,
dropped down to a lighter weight.
Atlantic City's a really good place for those smaller shows. Lou Negli's got Ring of Combat. Of course, Monty's got his shows.
Very successful show, yeah.
They're very successful shows, and they make good money. As a fighter, can you make a living just doing those smaller shows?
It's harder. I have to work a lot harder for sponsorships, and even if I wanted to incorporate ticket sales into that, you know, because of course the pay isn't quite as much, but it's definitely great to build up, especially since I'm from the area. So I'm from New Jersey, so I have a pretty big fan base around here, which is fun. But I'd really like to get picked up by a bigger show, if anybody's out there.
All right, so speaking of bigger shows, do you think you hurt yourself, or did ESPN E60 hurt you when they ran that piece about Gina Carano, and then they showed you and Baszler, and Baszler said something to the effect of, you know, women using their looks, and you said something to the effect of women should not be using their sexy side, and during that time you were saying that they put B-roll of Gina Carano doing a pose for a camera in a photo shoot, and it looked like you were talking about Gina Carano, and I think, you know, you probably took a lot of heat on the internet and on the blogs. Explain what happened and explain if that was all accurate.
They showed 30 seconds of a 2.5-hour interview that I did perfectly. I thought that I gave them nothing to work with that was negative at all, and they pulled 30 seconds of what I said to a question that they asked me that had nothing to do with Gina. I think it had to do with, do you feel that women should or shouldn't be using their sexuality to sell themselves in the ring or whatever? And I said something to the effect of women that have to use their looks to get ahead are obviously lacking in skills. And they're showing Gina at the same time that I'm saying this, and I wasn't even talking about Gina Carano.
So they created a little drama there,
yeah,
a little controversy.
I took a lot of heat for that.
You did?
I really did, yeah.
That's a shame.
I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. I love Gina. Gina's awesome.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it going, ooh, bitter, table for one.
No, I'm not.
We mentioned Gina Carano. Will she sign with Strikeforce? Will she hold out for UFC or WEC? We did talk to Dana White. Dana White said that he's not against women's mixed martial arts. He just thinks there's not enough of you to make a revenue-generating division. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I think it's, you know, more of an antiquated kind of deal. There's enough women in the sport now that there are enough matchups to be made. It's not like they're trying to run 4 or 5 women's fights on every show. So I do believe that if you want to focus on one division to start out with, there are enough women that you can make good matchups, high-level matchups, and put one on each show, one on every other show. I really do think that there's enough people out there now that it can be done.
Do you think there's also enough recognition from the fans of fighters of your caliber, even Gina's caliber? Kimi Couture's coming up. She just backed out of a fight in Strikeforce. But then you've got Cyborg in Strikeforce as well. To make for super fights, for instance, like, you know, we talk about GSP versus BJ Penn or GSP versus Anderson Silva, be a great fight. What about you versus Carano, you versus Cyborg in a big event, even if it's a one-off event? Is there enough of a payday for somebody like you to actually pique your interest? I'm
not sure right now. I think that we definitely need to get the women's MMA side rolling. I mean, there's more than enough people at 125 pounds, 135, and 145 to, you know, build a couple of people up and to make those super fights happen between your champion at 125 and your people at 135. They want to cross up and go into 45. I definitely think there's an interest there. I think that would be huge. I don't know why anybody hasn't jumped on this, but I think maybe Dana needs to get pushed a little bit more. I'd like to see women in the WEC.
When you fight women for money and for the records and all that, is it easier to fight women after you train with men for so long?
Yes and no. The mentality that I have going into it, I almost feel like, look, I'm getting beaten up every day by the guys. I'm taking what they have. I'm giving it back to them, and I'm even doing well. So what could a woman possibly do? But then on the other hand, you've got women have a different timing, and women are also a lot more flexible. So you have to add that aspect in, and it kind of gives you that sort of, oh, geez, I gotta tweak this or fix that, or you have to think about that compared to rolling with the guys who you might get the armbar a little bit easier, whereas a woman's going to hyperextend and go backwards and around her head and all that. So
Gina has a hard time making weight. Cyborg missed weight in her last fight. Guys take a lot of criticism when they don't make weight. So there's got to be, no double standard there. Why are you guys having problems making weight?
I really don't know. I've never had trouble making weight, and in all of my 18 fights that I've had, I've never missed weight one time. Granted, sometimes it's been easy. I'm walking around at the weight, and sometimes I've had to cut, a lot. But I never, ever miss weight. It's completely unprofessional. And I believe it shows lack of dedication, personally. And it's very disrespectful to the sport, to your opponent, to the show. So,
but don't you think therein lies the problem of women's MMA? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I don't want to make you the spokesperson for women's MMA. But I just mentioned two of the best-known fighters in women's MMA, Gina Carano and Christiane Cyborg Santos. Both of those folks missed weight, and both of those, you're saying that's an unprofessional thing to do.
Yeah.
So how are those two on top of the sport? And I love you, Gina. I love you. I love you, Christiane.